Tension. Is Capcom about to cancel the Resident Evil Requiem showcase? We are sitting here, less than 7 weeks away from what is supposed to be the biggest survival horror launch of the generation, and the silence? It is honestly getting deafening. But then, completely out of nowhere, Nvidia shadow dropped a tech showcase trailer yesterday that basically did Capcom's marketing job for them. And while this video was technically just supposed to be a boring tech demo for their new DLSS 4.5 features, it ended up revealing the single most important detail about this game's structure that we have seen so far. It also accidentally sparked a massive controversy about PC performance that we need to address immediately because people are freaking out over a number they saw in the corner of the screen. So usually, these partner showcases are total nothing burgers. You know exactly what I mean. It's just 30 seconds of a camera panning over a wet rock or a puddle to show off how good the reflections look. It's boring, but this footage was different. This wasn't just tech demo fluff. This was our first real look at the protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, actually existing in the world. And the world they showed us? It changes everything we thought we knew about how this game is going to play. We see Grace walking down a rain-slicked street in a town that is clearly not Raccoon City, and the first thing that hits you is the scale. She's walking on a sidewalk, but the camera pulls back in a way that implies this isn't a corridor. It looks like you can cross the street. It looks like you can duck into that alleyway over there. It feels seamless. There's a moment where the neon lights from a diner are reflecting off the wet asphalt, and the atmosphere is just suffocating. It reminds me way more of the foggy, oppressive streets of Silent Hill 2 than the linear paths we got in the Resident Evil 4 remake, and that is a massive shift in design philosophy. Now, naturally, the internet saw this footage and immediately started fighting, because that is what the internet does. People spotted signs for Raccoon City in the background, but the city didn't look destroyed. It looked functional. So you had people screaming that this must be a prequel, or a hallucination, or maybe Grace is already dead. The confusion was real because Capcom hasn't told us anything. But this is where the insider Dusk Golem had to step in and save the day. He went to Twitter and dropped a clarification that is honestly more exciting than the trailer itself. He confirmed that the game isn't just set in one place. It is split across 3 entirely different towns. The town we saw in the Nvidia clip is actually called Wrenwood. It's a Midwestern town that we have never seen in the series before. According to the leaks, this is where the Wrenwood Hotel is located. Grace is apparently there to investigate a specific murder case that connects back to the death of Alyssa Ashcroft 8 years ago. That setup right there screams classic Resident Evil. It gives us that haunted house vibe where we have to explore a single creepy location and solve puzzles. But then you have the second location, which is Rhodes Hill. This is where things get crazy for the longtime fans. Rhodes Hill is the location of the hospital level we saw in previous teasers. But if you played Resident Evil Outbreak back in the day, you know that Rhodes Hill is the neighboring town to Raccoon City. There were literally subway signs pointing to it in the Outbreak games. The fact that the developers are digging that deep into the lore tells me they aren't just making this up as they go. They are trying to build a cohesive geography for this universe. And finally, we have Raccoon City itself. We know we're going back to ground zero. So think about what this 3-town structure actually means for the game. This implies a scope that is wildly ambitious. My brain is trying to figure out the flow here. Are we looking at a road trip narrative? Maybe we start at the FBI headquarters, drive to Wrenwood to solve the initial mystery, realize the infection is spreading, move to Rhodes Hill, and then finally end up in Raccoon City for the grand finale. That linear progression makes the most sense if they want to keep the horror tight. But there's a part of me that wonders if they're risking it all on a semi-open world design. Imagine if you have a car. Imagine if you can drive between Wrenwood and Rhodes Hill. It sounds cool on paper, like a horror version of GTA, but that is also terrifying for the wrong reasons. Resident Evil works because it's claustrophobic. It works because you're trapped. If you give the player too much freedom, if you let them drive around a large map, you lose that tension, you lose the scare factor. I'm really curious to see which direction they went, but if I had to bet, I think they're going to keep it semi-linear. Large hubs you can explore, but a strict story path pushing you forward. Now, we have to talk about the panic. Because right after this trailer dropped, social media went into meltdown over the performance. Nvidia included a little overlay in the top right corner of the video to show their tech stats. And for a few seconds, eagle-eyed viewers saw the frame rate counter sitting at 58 FPS. And people lost their minds. I saw comments saying, "Great, it can't even hit 60 FPS on a 5090, and this game is going to be unoptimized trash." But everyone needs to take a deep breath and look at the context. If you actually read the overlay, it said Path Tracing on and DLSS 4.5 off. Do you realize how insane that is? Path tracing isn't just ray tracing. It simulates every single beam of light in the entire scene. Running a game with full path tracing at native 4K without using DLSS is basically impossible for 99% of hardware. The fact that the RE engine was pushing 58 FPS in that scenario is actually a miracle. It tells me the engine is incredibly optimized. However, this does signal a shift in how games are being made. Nvidia used this trailer to show off their multi-frame generation. They're bragging about getting 6x performance by using AI to generate frames. We're entering an era where you don't really own your pixels anymore. The graphics card is guessing what the game should look like. If you're a purist who hates input lag or AI artifacts, this next generation of games might be a rough adjustment for you. But the biggest question mark hanging over everything right now isn't the graphics, it's the calendar. It is January 26th, 2026. Resident Evil Requiem launches on February 27th. That is barely 7 weeks away, and Capcom has been shockingly quiet. Usually, by this point in the cycle, we would be drowning in content. We would have developer interviews, character deep dives, maybe even a demo date. But right now, we're relying on Nvidia to leak footage for us. This silence tells me one thing. The Resident Evil Showcase is imminent. It has to be. If you look back at how they handled the Resident Evil 4 remake, they did a massive showcase in October before the March release. They blew the doors off with 20 minutes of gameplay and pre-order details. We haven't had that blowout moment yet for Requiem. They cannot wait until late January. That is too close to launch. They need to get pre-orders up. They need to control the narrative so people stop talking about 58 FPS and start talking about the story. My prediction is that we're getting the showcase announcement within the next 2 weeks. They are going to have to drop the bomb. They need to show us how these 3 towns connect. They need to explain the mechanics. And most importantly, they need to release a demo. Capcom is famous for their demos. If we don't get a demo for this game, that is the only time I will actually start to worry. No demo usually means they're hiding something. But given their track record since Resident Evil 7, I doubt that's the case. And honestly, I'm ready for them to take this risk. The ambition here is massive. Trying to tie together the main timeline with the spin-off lore of Outbreak is something fans have wanted for decades. It feels like they're finally respecting the history of the franchise instead of just rebooting it every few years. Acknowledging Rhodes Hill is a love letter to the people who were playing on PS2. But ambition is a double-edged sword. If they spread the game too thin across these 3 towns, it could end up feeling disjointed. We all remember Resident Evil 6. That game tried to be global and huge, and it was a bloated mess. Resident Evil Requiem needs to keep the focus tight. Grace needs to feel vulnerable. The horror needs to come first. So, the Nvidia trailer gives me hope because despite the open look, the lighting was dark, the shadows were deep. It didn't look like an action movie. It looked like a horror movie. If they can maintain that atmosphere across Wrenwood, Rhodes Hill, and Raccoon City, we're looking at a generational title. So, that's where we stand. We have a leak that looks incredible, a map that is way bigger than we thought, and a fan base that is nervous about frame rates. Now we just wait for Capcom to break the silence. I want to hear from you guys though. Does the idea of a 3-town structure sound awesome, or are you worried it's going to dilute the horror? I'm cautiously optimistic, but let me know your take in the comments. Hit the like button if you want Capcom to hurry up and announce the showcase. Subscribe so you don't miss our breakdown when they finally do. And until next time, this has been The Update, and I'll catch you in the next one.